Hello, Coach John here, and today we're going to look at some books. Books make great gift ideas. First of all, there's a lot of information, can be entertaining. Also, they last forever. You can pass it on to other people, reread it later. Books are great gifts, and that's what I would recommend. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to look at lots of books that I would recommend that I've read. I would also say that I'm going to look at some books in more depth later, but right now here's some books that I'm going to start off with. And of course, the first one I'm going to start off with is my own book. And if you can't recommend your own book, there's a problem. The Last 9 Seconds, The Secrets to Scoring Goals on the Last Touch. This book is written for coaches of players who are at least 14 years of age and up, because it's the psychological aspects of scoring goals. And I used to play as a goalkeeper, so I could tell you players did not score as many goals as they should have, and a lot of those reasons are because of psychological errors, mindset, mental breakdowns. So I go through how to coach that here, a lot of personal stories. Obviously, I would recommend my own book. Let's move on. I would also recommend an older book, and it's called Soccer, Canada's National Sport, written by Les Jones, who's a famous photographer. He's covered numerous World Cups for Canada, and it's great pictorial history of soccer in Canada with a lot of people who really helped make the game what it is in Canada. I definitely recommend it. Next book is fairly new, just came out. It's called Direct Kicks to the World Cup, written by Scott Granville, and it's about showcasing grassroots greatness one player at a time. Scott was the director, host, producer of a TV show called Direct Kicks, and he talks about the journey he had to try and get that TV show on air, meant for younger folks, kids and fans of the game, and all the challenges that he had. And I really recommend this book, just out, Scott Granville. How Soccer Explains the World. This one is from Franklin Foer, and this was quite interesting. A lot of things that I didn't know about, connecting politics and soccer. Again, I really enjoyed this book. Some of these books are a bit older. You're going to have to do some research to find them, but it doesn't matter. I think all books have some great value to them. Here's one called Changing the Game from John O'Sullivan. The Parent's Guide to Raising Happy, High-Performing Athletes. John O'Sullivan has lectured and done TED Talks, and this is just a phenomenal book. Great book, especially for parents of soccer players. Another fairly new book right now is called Lessons from the Best Coach, from Dr. Jay Martin. He's the most winningest coach in NCAA history. He talks about developing a winning team culture as it lasts. Dr. Jay Martin. Again, we're going to look at some of these books in more detail later. I'm just zipping through the ones that I would recommend that make great gifts. Fundamental Soccer 9-Step Practice Routine, written by Carl Dwazian, who was the director of soccer coaching in California Soccer Association. He's got a series of books. We'll look at some of those later, but he wants to make everything fun, but also at the same time really help kids love the game. Another one is by Gwendolyn Oxenham, Finding the Game. Her and her mate went on a tour of the world looking for pickup games. And they produced a movie called Pelada, which was screened in theaters and gone to film festivals. We're going to talk about this book again, like all of them later. Great recommendation for reading Finding the Game. Ronaldo. This is a Canadian author, James McCreath. It's a thick book, my goodness. Couldn't put it down once I started it. It's a fiction, thriller, action. I definitely would not recommend it for kids because it's X-rated. But it would make a great movie. I think Hollywood does not like soccer, unfortunately, but it's a thriller, action-packed. I couldn't put it down. So if you're looking for a fiction, it's related to soccer, James McCreath. Great book. We have Pele, written by Why Soccer Matters by Brian Winter. And of course Pele, the leading goal scorer of all time. And it's about his life story. And I'm going to talk about this book a bit more down the road. Definitely recommend it. Just moving off of soccer, hockey, Brian Burke. Burke's Law by Stephen Brunt. He's a great journalist and has written a number of great books. #1 bestseller, knowing about how to put together hockey teams, and Brian Burke was good. This one here, Declan Hill, who was a journalist, I believe out of Washington, also worked in Canada and the UK. The Fix, Soccer and Organized Crime. Oof, this one will open your eyes into some interesting things about sports. So soccer, that's a soccer book. Here's another one called Winning with Your Head, a complete mental guide for soccer by Rafi Severa. I do quote him in my book quite a bit. He's talking mostly to players in his book in terms of getting your mind set, ready to play and be successful. An older book, I'm sure you can find it somewhere, written by Tony Waiters, called Coaching to Win. This was my Bible growing up, coaching. Just about everything you want to know is in here. It's been rewritten in smaller sections. Tony did not like the title. Coaching to Win is not good for youth players. It's more about player development, making the game fun. But the publisher wanted Coaching to Win to sell more copies. So I would recommend that if you can find it. Going back to another sport, hockey, The Game, Ken Dryden. Ken Dryden was a former NHL goalkeeper for the Montreal Canadiens, and this is a really good book, written in a slightly different way. It takes you inside the dressing room of the Montreal Canadiens, so that's a great book I'd recommend. If you can still find it, I'm sure you can. Soccer Journal. If you're a member of United Soccer Coaches, the largest coaching organization in the world out of the U.S., every year you get a free copy of preseason drills and whatnot, and you also get their copies of the Soccer Journal. So that's edited by Dr. J. So I'd recommend becoming a member of the United Soccer Coaches. Great subscription to give out to a soccer fan is Soccer 360 magazine. It covers all the major leagues, including women's soccer and the MLS, not just the European leagues. So that's a great gift to give someone a subscription to that. We're not just talking, as I said, soccer. We're jumping around. What the Dog Saw, Malcolm Gladwell, and of course this book has a lot of clips of some of his favorite articles and whatnot. There is sports involved here in the Outliers story. It's a real interesting read, great stories, a lot of mini stories. Malcolm Gladwell, famous author. So going back to hockey, Scotty by Ken Dryden, person who wrote the other book, also wrote Scotty, A Hockey Life Like No Other. This is a real interesting read. He coached Ken Dryden and won numerous Stanley Cups for hockey. So Ken Dryden. This one was written in 1944 and it's been rewritten numerous times. Dale Carnegie, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. And I quoted this in my book as well. Great tips on making sure you don't worry yourself to death. Full season training program from sessions from Barry Gorman, Penn State soccer coach, and written by Lawrence Fine. Great drills. I used a lot of the drills in here, especially at the start of the season, which I think was good. A couple more books here. Tadeu Concalves from Brazil, the Principles of Brazilian Soccer. I don't think we can argue with how Brazilian soccer has played. They've won the most World Cups, so Tadeu's done a great job putting this book together. Hurricane Hazel, which was the mayor of Mississauga, a city just outside of Toronto, lived to over 100. But she was really into sports. She actually played professional hockey, women's, and when she helped grow the city of Mississauga, she was mayor for almost forever. It has some of the best sports facilities around, and a lot is due to Hazel. And then we have the final book here, Inverting the Pyramid, which is about systems of play and how the game grew up. This is definitely for coaches. I don't think your general population is going to be interested in this unless you're coaching and you want to know the history of how systems of play came into place by Jonathan Wilson. So we're going to look at some of them more individually. I don't think I have any more books that are floating around here. But as I say, I've read them all, some a few years back, but I'll be glad to talk about them. But books make great gifts, and you can pick them up probably on Amazon, although I'm sure the authors themselves would prefer you find another way, because Amazon kind of makes all the money on it. But the authors, especially the smaller ones, if you can look them up, you can rewind the tape and look up, Google. I'm sure you can find their direct websites where you can pick up the book. Anyways, thanks for listening. This is Coach John, and we'll see you later when I start analyzing some of these books individually. Thanks. Bye-bye. Okay.